the cloud. Got that. Okay.
Hello, Cloud.
Hello, cloud. I was like, oh my gosh, I just lost my other screen. Hang on. Okay, there we go. I got it now. I got it. All right. Welcome to episode 53 of the Georgie and Patty Show. I am Georgie.
And I'm Patty.
And we are here on a Friday, which on Friday we do our weekly review show to share the things that we have learned and then give you the opportunity to share what you have learned as well. So my quote of the day is, the stories of our lives, far from being fixed narratives, are under constant revision. And that is by Gordon Livingston, which I thought, yes, how often I think we get fixated on the stories of our past and we think that's who we are and how we have to be. It's kind of what's been showing up a bit for me this week. It's like, what are these stories that I'm running that I've just decided are me? Which is another reason why I really, really like always doing reflection and asking questions and this whole thing of self-inquiry into myself to see, is this really true? What am I really believing? And then at a sort of different level is this weekly review that we do. Let me look back at that. What did I learn this week? How am I showing up this week? I do find I do a lot of the internal kind of stuff, which is a little more challenging to share in the show, but it's like, okay, what am I learning this week? How do I want to review? What revision do I want to make for my life moving forward? But this week was definitely where I'm noticing in myself, and probably because I'm aware of it in myself, but in other people too, what are these sort of fixed stories that I'm repeating over and over and over again and almost just re-cementing, and are they true and even serving me? So yeah, that's where that quote came from.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Excellent. Well, I think you have the slide deck.
Oh, sure. I like doing the slides.
You run the slides.
All right.
That's right.
Here we go. There's Georgie looking at the moon. And I'm looking at the stars.
That's right. One day maybe I'll get to put my feet on the moon. That'd be kind of cool.
Wow. Reminds me of Elon Musk saying that he wants to die on Mars.
Yeah, I want to die on Everest, so.
Yeah. But not on impact.
No. It's a good distinction. It's nice to be clear about what we want. Really.
Sometimes those details matter.
Sometimes the details matter. Exactly.
All right. This is the weekly review where we talk about learning. We encourage you, if you're with us live on Facebook, if you are on Zoom with us, to share your learnings with us too, and we can all learn together. If you're watching the recording, you can share it somewhere.
The comfy, cozy office space, which I haven't been in like a week. I'm just realizing, let that slide. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, the comfy, cozy office place. That's a good place to share learning.
To hang out. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a place where you can belong without having to fit in. Yes. Your weekly permission slip to review your week or not, but we suggest doing it. Here we go.
All right. So one of my learnings this week, I was listening to one of our client shows actually during the week, and they were talking a lot about expectations. And they were coming from a lot from like personal expectations and expectations that we have in relationships or that we might put on our significant other, children, or those kinds of things. So then Patty and I were talking about it. It was like, oh, I wonder what kind of expectations I'm holding as an entrepreneur. Because of course we have them. We have them in pretty much everything we do. I think we have these expectations that we're putting out there. So when I think about being an entrepreneur and being in business, what kind of things are these expectations? Where are they keeping me stuck? Where are they supporting me? Where do I have maybe these incredibly high expectations that are almost impossible for me to meet? Maybe I have some really low expectations, so I'm not doing some of the things I could be doing because I'm like, nah, that's good. This is just all that happens. It's fine. So it's really, I've been thinking a lot about, expectations and how they show up. So I put together some places where you might want to look at what, or not what, well, where and what expectations might I be holding. Ding. I think that's my next slide. Da-da-da. So yeah, so some expectations on yourself as an entrepreneur. So if I look at, do you expect to be able to have everything done in a week? Do you have this expectation that it's going to be easy? Do you have this expectation that people are just going to show up at your door? I build it and they will come. I think for us, we're noticing a lot that what's the expectation you have on solving your sales and marketing problems? Because I think this is where we can often get stuck in that trap of, it's going to be this course. This course is going to solve my sales and marketing problem. Once I go online, solves my sales and marketing problem. The right website, solving my problem. And so it's really interesting to look at those kinds of expectations, I think, for where are you going to get your clients? What do you expect is going to happen for you? And then the next expectation is, what's the expectation that you are putting on your clients? What do you expect them to do? How do you expect them to show up? Do you get upset when they show up in one way or another? How much work are you expecting them to do in a week? Where's that place in their life that you are expecting them to show up? Are you meeting them where they're at? Or are you finding some frustration because you expect them to be somewhere else, do things better, do things faster? So just notice what kind of expectations that you might be holding on your clients. And then the next one is a mystery on your partners. And by that, I mean, if you collaborate with people, so what expectations do you have for the people that you're working with? And maybe that could be an actual partner, like Patty and I partner. Maybe it's people that you kind of contract with, or your subcontractors, or people that do work with you. Maybe it's networking partners, referral partners, but what kind of expectations are you putting on those kinds of people in your business? And is that working? Is it creating frustration? But just starting to recognize that we put these kinds of expectations on all these different areas as a business owner. And then the next one that I have on my magic slide is, especially in how long will it take? Because often I think we expect things are going to happen so much faster than they do. We also expect they're going to happen with a lot less work than we think it's going to take. And when we have these expectations that might be a bit unrealistic, then we often become disappointed. We want to quit. We want to give up before we've really even given it the time to have a chance. We quit before even doing the experiments because we have this expectation that I'm going to write one sales letter. I'm going to write the perfect email. I'm going to create the perfect course, the perfect offer right off the bat. And that literally in my first 4 weeks of business, I'm going to be making 200 grand a year. This is awesome. So I think having just doing a little check-in on what your expectation is on how long will it really take to create this business that you want. And then the next one is your skill level. Like, I think of this one shows up for me when I think about painting that picture at the paint and sip thing. My expectation of myself for having the skill to paint this picture in exactly the same way as the professional artist was so unrealistic, and that I'm getting so frustrated that I can't do this. And so then when we look at our business, what's my expectation for my skills and be able to maybe, like, say, create the landing page, create the social media post or the little video or the Canva, image, my Instagram images. Where do I have an expectation of my teenager can do this and I should be able to do this? A 5-year-old can do a lot of this stuff. Why can't I? And so I think we often, technology is another one where it shows up, where I think we have these almost unrealistic expectations of our skill level in this stuff, instead of stepping back and go, this is a skill that I don't have. Maybe my sales conversation skills need to get a little bit better. Maybe my communication skills need a little bit of work. My marketing skills, my direct outreach skills, my email writing skills. And I think we think sometimes that I've been doing this for like 6 months. I should be perfect. This is such a, again, it goes back to that time thing. Developing this almost mastery level of skill takes time. And I think the expectations we sometimes put on ourselves, they don't serve us, they don't help. And then the next one, yeah, is your cash, right? Again, it comes back to this expectation that, oh, I'm going to be, like say, I'm going to make 250 grand my first 3 months in business. And I've got my spreadsheets and I'm doing my charts and, oh, I only have to talk to 100 people, no problem. I can talk to 50 people this month doing interviews and all of these things. And it's just not that realistic. And then we think, oh, well, 80% of them are going to buy, no problem. My expectation for having this business that's going to fully support me in this dream lifestyle I've created might not be such a great idea. So it's just I just kind of wanted to just sort of plant that seed to start to look at where are my expectations and what are they? And so then I want to share, how do I know? How do I know I even have an expectation? Because I think often they can be a bit hidden. So, which is kind of this representative of the next slide, is that if you start to feel some frustration and you feel like, I just come like literally up against this wall, check in and see, oh, did I have an expectation here that isn't being met? Am I creating a meaning here that's based on how I thought the world should be, how I thought my business should be, how I thought the people that are connected with me should be and how they show up? Because these are expectations, and realize these are things that you are creating. So what if you can take a step back from that and go, oh, is this actually true for me? Does this expectation I have serve me? Maybe I need to raise it, or maybe I need to lower it. Maybe I need to just extend my timeline. Maybe I need to realize I need some more skills. Maybe I'm not being fair to myself. Like if I think about the painting, when I sort of took a step back and thought, why am I so frustrated with this? And I'm like, because I have this expectation that I should be able to paint in a certain way. I should have this skill, even though there's nothing that supports that, other than the fact that it said beginner painting, and I believe I can do that. I should be able to do this. And it just created a lot of frustration. And I didn't enjoy the process as much as I could because I was so stuck in the expectation that I had for myself. So it's a really great space to just check in and see what you got going on there. And then the next thing I was thinking about this week was all about kind of timing, which sort of goes with the expectation thing too. We're often, we want things to happen in a certain way. And Patty talks about this, and I think it was Steve Jobs that said, it's only when we can sort of look backwards and we see how the dots were connected. So sometimes things happen at just the right timing, and we have to allow that space for that timing piece to show up, which can look like sometimes we have to slow down. Sometimes we have to take a few steps backwards. Sometimes we have to regroup on our ideas and where we're at, and have these kind of think days and take the time to put into, okay, the process and what's happening, and just sort of allow things to show up. And I think when we're starting to feel a bit of resistance is a really good spot to kind of go inside and go, okay, do I have some expectations here? Am I expecting something to happen faster than I thought it was going to, or I want it now? Maybe this opportunity, maybe the timing wasn't just right. And so with this, then I was thinking, okay, so what can I do to sort of, make sure I'm ready when the thing does appear, and still be sort of honoring this timing space, this slowing down, this just kind of almost not waiting for it to happen, but allowing it to happen and unfold as it should and as it works. So I think one of those things is to really be consistent in the activities that build our business. So what does that look like? It's continually talking to people. It's continually building your network. It's continually reaching out. It's continually having ways to share what you do. Like with us, we talk a lot about this, the assessment and using this method. So am I constantly sharing this with people? Do I have kind of routines and rituals and ways for myself to do that? Like, is it in my email signature? Am I putting it at the bottom of my post? Am I doing those things that will consistently, basically, grow my network and put me in front of people that could do business with me? Because if I'm constantly doing this, absolutely for sure, over time, something is going to happen. And then I can start to be ready for these opportunities. But I know that I'm always moving forward because I'm doing these activities that are consistent to building my business, consistent to that growth. So I'm like, oh, okay, am I doing that? And I was thinking about this because I started, I was asked to collaborate on another 2 projects actually this week. One that I'm moving forward on, one we'll see what happens. And I think about this one particular project, we had probably started talking about it probably almost a year ago, I guess. And then it would kind of, and then not happen, and not happen, and that's fine, that's fine, that's fine, until all of a sudden it seems like right now is perfect, and here's how it looks, and it works, and it works, and it's good, and we'll see where it goes. If I think about the Nepal trip, I've been thinking about taking people to Nepal for 7 years, not sure what that was going to look like or how it was going to be, but it's kind of just holding that space, and I get clearer, the right people show up, it's continuing that I talk about it, and then here it is, you know? So there's a space in there for time. And sometimes we don't know how long that time is, but it's still doing the consistent things, you know, the things that are going to build and grow when I think about business, right? Build and grow, build and grow, build and grow. And then it's also experimenting and being willing to fail, being willing to try things that don't work and being okay with it. Being like, okay, this could look, I can think of one collaboration that I was going to do with someone, started out good. It's just like, this is a train wreck disaster. This is just not good, not happening. No, you know? So things like that happen. What did I learn from it? And so with timing, I think it's a lot too about trusting the process, being clear on where you're going, trusting the process, so that then you're ready to take the opportunities when they show up. So that's my thing on timing, which then, of course, these kind of all fit together, led to collaboration, because collaboration is awesome when it works. And I think it can work. So then I started thinking about, oh, okay, what are the collaborations that have worked really well? What are the ones that have like train wrecked? Because there's been train wrecks for sure. And there's been some that work really well. Like Patty's and I's is awesome. I love it. Super good. This Nepal thing's going really well. So far, this other tiny little thing, which isn't like I would call it a full-on collaboration, just like a mini little, I have a piece in it collaboration. Really great. So then I'm like, okay, let's look at what are the benefits to collaborating with someone. So on the next slide, I have sort of some benefits. So one, it's fun. It's really, really fun. I like it. It's enjoyable. And then the next thing is things move faster. When there's 2 people working towards the same thing, you gain some momentum and things start to move a lot quicker. The other thing, or another thing, is you get new perspectives. Often when we're working alone, I'm only seeing things through my lens, my filter, how I think it should be. And it's really, really cool when you have another person or 2 more people or whatever that might be to come in with their perspective on something that you hadn't thought of, something that makes it better, something that, you know, like if I think of with the Nepal trip, I kind of had a plan in my head of what this was going to look like. It's completely different, totally different. And that's awesome. And then the other piece of that is that you get to sort of combine networks as well. So my people and their people, and sometimes they're in the same group, sometimes they're completely different. Sometimes they're in different countries, you know, so your own network and connection gets to expand, which is really awesome. The other thing that you really need when you're doing this is that you get to focus on the things that you're really good at. Like I've noticed with all the collaborations I'm in right now, I've really been able to let go the things I really hate doing and the things that kind of suck, or the things that I was okay at, like I could do them, but I wasn't super great at it. So I was able to drop those things and really only focus on the things that I'm really, really great at, which is amazing. Goes back to super fun. And then the other benefit, I think it's my last one, is support. You have somebody there that you can talk things out with. You have somebody there when you're feeling like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I know anything here. You have that kind of built-in support person, and it's a really nice feeling because you know you're both working towards the same goal. So having that support person that really gets it is such a benefit to being in a collaborative venture. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what makes a great collaboration work? What are the things that you need to make this work? From my experience that I've noticed is I really believe that your values and beliefs need to align. And I noticed that when any kind of collaboration I've done that's worked really well, the values and beliefs have aligned. It doesn't mean they have to be exactly the same, but some are the same, but they're at least very complementary to each other. I think it's one of the most important pieces when you're looking to do a collaboration with someone. And this comes down to whether it's a partnership like Patty and I, or if it's joint venturing on someone else's program that you're going to share with your network. I think you really want to make sure that the values and beliefs that you hold and the ones that they hold, that they align. Because your community of people, most likely they believe what you believe. They're working with you because their values and beliefs somehow align in there on some level. And so you want to make sure you're doing a check with the things that you are also promoting, because that could be one way of doing a collaboration. The next thing is purpose. And the purposes don't have to be the same, of course, but it's nice if they are aligned, if they can kind of nest under each other. It's like, this is my lighthouse and this is your lighthouse, but we're heading in the same direction with them. Really, really important. The next thing is you want the same outcome. You know, it's like if Patty and I, if we're working together and one of us is like, kind of want this sort of small scale, intimate group of people, it's really great. And the other one's like, oh my God, no, we're going to be in front of like stages of hundreds of thousands of people. And we want to grow this thing we want 1,000 people in our course. That is never going to work. If I'm like, no, Patty, I want to make like $5 million a year. And she's like, I'm kind of good with like 100 grand. Our outcomes are so far apart that it's not going to work. So it's really important to want to be on the same page. Even if you look at a course, one person might know, I really want to do a year-long course. I'm like, yeah, I got this commitment phobia thing happening. Can we just do like, 3 months max? If it's too far apart, it's not going to work. So you really want to just kind of check these things out. The next thing is that your working styles are complementary. And this means, you have to understand how you work. So are you a big picture person or are you a detail person? Do you like to rehearse things like a million times before you actually go live with it? Are you okay with kind of winging it? Do you like everything done down to the detail, or a little more broader? And the styles can be complementary even if they're different. Like Patty and I work really similar, which is really great. And then with the two other collaborations I have, it's interesting because one is a nice mix. He does like some details, but he's got a lot of room for flexibility, and he's okay with, he doesn't need to practice anything. And we know the topic. We trust that we each are going to show up with how we're going to do things. This new one, it's like, would it be okay if we practice first? I was like, okay. How many times? How much practice do you need? Because I know, like, if we got to practice like for like 10 hours before we do a 1 hour webinar, that's never going to work for me. But yeah, if you want to do a run through, I'm okay with that. That works. It's complimentary. You know, if I have someone that needs every little detail from me, like by the end of every day, it's never going to work. I'm on their expectation of me is going to get disappointed. I will tell you that for sure. So knowing how people work, so that then you can see how do we make this work? How can we do kind of the compromise? Or sometimes it might just be so far apart that I know it's not going to work because I'm going to let you down. Like that's just how this is going to work. And it's so knowing what that is. The next thing is to be open. Be open to new perspectives. Be open to other opinions. Be open to, I hadn't thought about that before. You know, empty your cup, empty your cup. And I really believe when you have those first three things in place, it's a lot easier to be open to seeing things in a different way. Things that you didn't really think about because you're aligned at a different level. But if you want to work with someone else and you go in thinking your way is the best way and you're the only one that knows anything, it's probably not going to work out so well. And that's kind of what happened in one of mine that kind of tanked, is we were both pretty sure we knew how this thing should work. And our working styles weren't like, oh my gosh, it's like I look through this thing, go, oh, you didn't read this checklist, Georgie. So this will save you. And the next thing is, I think it's willingness. Yeah, having a willingness to change your opinion, to change your mind, to do something different, to be open to this different idea. And then like, all right, I'm willing to try that. I'm willing to practice 2 times. I'm willing to, do this trek in a different way. So a willingness to try different things. And then the next thing is adaptability. How adaptable am I? How flexible am I? Instead of being rigid, because I think you have to have a little bit of adaptability as you're working with other people. People that work with me, their adaptability skill is really good because I tend to have a lot of ideas and I'm like, ooh, this. So they can be adaptable and they're also very, very good at going, okay, and let's just have a look at that, right? This is for me where I have to have that openness to go, yeah, I'm just getting distracted. Oh, that is another just bright, shiny object over there. Okay, I'll put it down. Got it. So for me, I have to be adaptable I know I love big ideas, and the people that work with me, they're adaptable because they let me spit them out of my mouth. And then I can be like, okay, yeah, let me put it down. So there has to be some adaptability when you're working with other people. Time schedule sometime, right? When you're working, for me, like I've got leaving in Belgium, so we have to be adaptable in when we're going to meet, how we're going to meet, how those things are going to work, how we're going to do our work together. And then communication. I think it's really such a big piece in making any kind of collaboration work, being really almost vulnerable in your own communication to stand in what you want, what you believe in. This is how I see it. And again, it goes back to this openness, not being judgy and letting the other person speak how they want to speak and what's really important to them. And really, when things come up, sharing it. Like I can remember one exchange Patty and I had, and I think I don't remember exactly how it went, but then she sent me a text. She goes, I think it was like, I just realized you might have taken that negatively or something like that. I was like, oh, no, not at all. But it's that willingness to have that communication whenever you feel like, oh, crap, I think I might have, that didn't come out. If that could have been a spot for it to sound negative and I didn't mean it like that. So that willingness to really just check in when you're having those uncomfortable feelings, so you create that space then of openness and of trust, but you have to be willing to have, the hard conversations. I don't think we really have hard conversations because I think we're in that space where it's like, if something comes up, it's like, oh, I feel like this, I feel like that. And it's great. And again, I think it goes back to values, beliefs, purpose. How do we work together? Create this great space of trust and safety to be able to do the work that we want to do in the world. that was kind of my review this week when I was thinking about, yes, this collaboration. They all kind of nested within each other, which worked well too when I was reviewing it and reflecting, and of course doing all the other weirder self-inquiry stuff that I'll save for my personal life. But these were the ones that were relative to my business this week.
So cool. It's so cool. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure we've got some connections between your learnings and my learnings.
It's so cool too, because we haven't seen each other's learnings this week. So how this works is I usually get up early, and so I do my slides, and then I'll message Patty and say, okay, slide deck's ready for you, and then she'll do hers. And then we used to kind of go through the slides before the show, but I noticed the last few weeks we haven't. So it's a surprise, which is kind of awesome.
Surprise, we're talking about the same thing or not. I don't know.
Well, and how cool then that people get different perspectives on some of the same learnings. So great. I love it.
So interesting. So interesting. Learning number one for me is this idea of creating templates, finding patterns, innovating, copying without copying, kind of. This is for anyone who finds themselves in this place of wanting to reinvent the wheel, is sometimes described wanting to start with a blank page, wanting to start something completely new, or thinking that that's the best way to do something. There is a lot to be said for finding something that you like and turning it into a template. It's kind of, you read an email and it captures your attention and you're like, wow, that was a great email. It's like, okay, take a look at it. How can you adapt this to fit your purposes? How they take some look. How is this structured? How could I fit my own stuff to fit within that framework? That's come up a couple of times for me this week. It's one of those things that just kind of keeps repeating, and so I will share that in case it's useful. If you ever get stuck with a blank page, look for something to inspire you and give you some structure. And it's also, in terms of the copywriting, as we talked about this a bit in the copywriting session, is like it's really helpful for copywriting, especially if you see something that grabs you. Next time you buy something online, right? Like, take a good look at how they sold it to you. There's something in there to learn, right? It's clearly effective because you said yes. So that was thing number one. Thing number two, this is hilarious because this is, I was thinking about Georgie's slide that she had up there with the little clock and the paper behind that said discipline. So this was my note from the universe. If you, I don't know if anyone else is subscribed to the notes from the universe .com. When you think of taking consistent action towards your dream, do you imagine discipline, stamina, work, sacrifice, monotony, courage, and stamina? Oh, there's stamina in there twice. I don't know if I copied it down right. Or are you thinking adventure, discovery, new friends, excitement at the crack of dawn, magic, surprises, fun, laughter, and on occasion, the Macarena? Your chosen perspectives change everything. I find sometimes with these notes from the universe, like some days I'll get this note and I'll be like, oh, I needed to hear this. I really needed to hear this. And This was one of those ones that really struck me. It's I had really found myself in this mind frame of need to be consistent, need to get the work done, do all of the things. It's like the big old checklist, and it's like I'm not getting enough done. I'm not moving fast enough. It's all of that, and thinking about it in terms of, oh, it's a whole lot of work, when the reality is it is fun and it is exciting. And taking on new clients is like meeting new friends. It's just so cool to do the kind of work that we do, and to meet people and to do stuff. And I sometimes get into this head spin, about my day, where I'm thinking, oh, I've got so much to do. My calendar is so full. I have so many calls. I've got so much stuff I have to prepare for. I've got deadlines. I've got stuff I got to get done. Um, and then, I can sometimes get in this really revved up place, especially Sunday night when I'm reviewing kind of what's ahead and I'm thinking about Monday. And I'm getting into this trap that I know a lot of people get into, is this Sunday panic because, oh, tomorrow's Monday. Um, and I sometimes tell myself those stories. And then when my week actually unfolds, I'm like, wow, what a full day. That was awesome. I got so much done and I talked to so many people, and it was so cool to have those conversations. And um, I love my work, and I forget sometimes that I love my work. So this was a very good reminder for me, and I share it in case it's something that you need to hear. Um, so that's one of those learnings for me, is it's like to pay attention, pay attention, pay attention to what I'm saying in my head. Um, so that was that. And then this one, oh, this was amazing. Feedback. Oh, the value of feedback. Uh, in the course that we're taking, we one of the things we needed to come up with was a single sentence basically to describe the course that we were creating, um, to kind of pull it together about who it was for and what it was, and all of this. Do you remember exactly what we said, Georgie?
I probably have it written down. Something our pilot course is, oh yeah, our pilot will help coaches comfortably sign up more clients by using an assessment instead of selling.
Yeah. This is the line that we had come up with, and we're like, oh, that's so cool. This is so awesome. And Georgie posted it in the group to ask for feedback. And she sends me an email and she says, we got some feedback on our statement. And she says, I don't know how to respond to this. And the feedback was something along the lines of, so what's the secret sauce? I think most coaches know how to do assessments. And I'm like, how do we respond to that feedback? I'm like, my first response of typing it out, it's like, don't. It's clear from that feedback that they did not read what we had to say. That's where I started, right? My knee-jerk reaction was, I'm not accepting that feedback. Now, this is valid. This is the thing about feedback. It's totally valid to not accept it, right? When you get feedback, it's for your use, right? And we get feedback whether we ask for it or not, but it's helpful to ask because you get perspective, right? So we can argue with feedback. And I was kind of on the fence between, do I argue with this feedback or do I ignore it? So I'm like, okay, not everything deserves a response, right? And what's going through my head? Oh, they didn't take the time to read it, so this feedback isn't relevant. And then I'm like, maybe they're ESL and maybe the communication is lost because they're not native English speakers, right? And I'm like, I'm thinking that feedback is not relevant. And then I sat with it for a minute and I'm like, how can I make this useful, right? And so I'm like, I'm making an assumption that they did not read the statement. So that's question is another way to when you get feedback is to get curious. And it's like, and I'm like, okay, so what's the question here? What do I want to know, right? So I'm like, okay, here's how I think we should respond. I'm curious. When you read our statement, what do you think our course is about? Um, which was really, kind of, I was so proud of myself for coming up with this, by the way. I'm just like, um, and we got, and the response to that was that they did understand what we were talking about, and they called it consultative selling or something like this. Um, and then we got another piece of feedback that was once again asking questions about the assessment. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Take it in, the value of feedback, and it's like, it's not a good line. It's not a good line because people are focusing on the assessment. So it's like, okay, how else could we describe this? And this is the element of experimentation. We talk about experimentation all the time, and this is an example of exactly how it works. Is you put something out there and you get feedback. In this case, we asked for feedback. In other cases, we get feedback without asking for it. You put out you send an email and people don't respond. That's feedback. You post something on social media and nobody likes it or comments on it. That's feedback. You put an offer out there, nobody buys it. That's feedback. Or contrary, you put something out there and people jump all over it and they're like, wow, this is amazing. This is so cool. And they share it. And it's like, wow, sometimes I send my weekly email out and I hear crickets. Other times I send it out and I get a dozen responses in my inbox. It's like, okay. It's like we get feedback, and it's the essence of experimenting and getting better is to pay attention, right? So we put it out there, we ask for feedback, you take it in. Expectations, Georgie was talking about expectations. My expectation was that we had a great line. We had a really long one, and then we made it short. We were very excited about it. Our expectation is that people would have gotten it, and they didn't. That's fine. So we're looking at it at another way to phrase it. So we're going to try this idea about how to get clients comfortably, confidently, and without choosing a niche, setting up a bunch of tech, or having awkward sales conversations. That's what we're going to try next. We're going to take the word assessment out, because while the assessment is the how-to, it's a distraction. It's shifting the focus in a place where we don't want to focus it. But the feedback you get is it's useful, and it's not always what we want to take in. So in terms of feedback, you can argue with it, you can ignore it, you can question it, and you can take it in. And it's a bit of a skill to develop that way to kind of assess feedback.
Sometime in all four phases. It's the four phases of feedback.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I saw this look and I'm like, yep, that was, he sent the email like, that was my look. I'm pretty sure it was exactly that. Not what I expected to hear. So that was my learnings for this week, other than the fact that this is an interesting observation, is that 54 doesn't feel any different from 53. And this is like kind of a pattern for every birthday I've ever had. I remember 17 not being much different from 16, 30 not much different from 29, 45 to 44, whatever. But I can say that 54 feels a whole lot different than 17 or 29 or even 44. So I don't know when it happens, but it doesn't happen on that calendar date.
It's a time thing.
It's a time thing. Yeah,
a time thing that it's just, you're not really sure when it's going to show up, but one day it does. Like,
And that's that expectation thing too, right? Like, oh, I'm expecting it's to feel different. Here's something I think I might have learned just right today. I just have to share this. What am I sharing? There we go. Share this. I I don't see myself as a detail-oriented person, and I was totally distracted here by the planing and the APDC little diagram in there, and the fact that the pie chart numbers added up to more than 100%. Anyhow.
Not me. As you can see, I didn't see any of that.
It's so funny. I often see myself on like kind of like the two poles.
Yeah.
It's like when I work with copy on clients, it's I love coming up with like the overall strategy and direction. It's kind of like headline, bullets, call to action. There you go. Here's a skeleton. Fill it in, right? And then I also enjoy the end part where I'm tweaking sub headlines and changing some language around. It's that horrible part in the middle that I don't like.
So funny. That's why my daughter has my logins to all my like social media accounts and stuff, because I would make a post and then I would like a couple extra letters or spaces or whatever and different things, you know, so she would send me a message, screenshot of the thing, problem circled for me to go fix it. And I'm like, you know what? I have a better idea. Here's the login. When you notice it, just go fix it. I don't even need to know, you know, just go do it.
Oh,
So
way to delegate.
I know, it's really great. So I just, and then a little bit, oh, you updated your post. Oh, it looks like I must have made a mistake. Great. But it's awesome. So it's collaboration, right? Collaboration.
It's kind of awesome, isn't it?
It's kind of awesome. I just don't have that expectation of perfect pretty much anything except for art skills. But other than that, yeah, so good. Well, do any of our awesome viewers want to share what they learned this week, other than how good cake can be 2 times in a row?
Oh yeah, cake for breakfast is awesome.
I think I just start having it for breakfast. I don't know what would happen.
It makes sense. It's like, you know, we sometimes do silly things. It's like when you have cake at night, like for dessert or whatever, it's like you're having sugar and it's going to wake you up, and it's like that's not good for sleeping. So cake for breakfast makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. I just heard, I'm trying to remember I can't remember his name, some dude that does some kind of health stuff. Well, anyway,
Some dude that does stuff.
Some dude that does stuff. He's got all the scientific background. And he was talking about like fasting. So often, like if you're doing intermittent fasting or whatever, you usually skip breakfast and you don't actually eat till like say 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. And he's like, it's so backwards. You need to eat if you're going to skip a meal, it should be dinner, because your body needs the food and the nutrients and the fuel for breakfast and lunch when you're out doing your stuff. But if you're so you're fasting, like let's say you're doing an 18-hour fast or whatever, you know, start it where you can have your breakfast in the morning, because you're just going to go to bed. So I was like, wow, it's so true. Almost every person, like health person, whatever, that I've talked to with fasting, they're like, yeah, you always want to, if you like, because I was doing 18-hour fast there for a long time, and 20-hour fast actually for a long time, is that it's not eat till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, yeah, my brain needs fuel, my body needs fuel as I'm out doing my stuff. So interesting, totally non-related fun fact, but supports eating cake for breakfast. Your muscles need sugar in the morning. Eat cake.
You know, it's so interesting that you talk about this, because I remember reading about that intermittent fasting kind of thing, and I'm reading this and I'm like, we used to call that skipping breakfast.
Yeah.
And then they told us that was bad for us. But it's like I'm not typically a breakfast person. Like I laugh about this, having cake for breakfast. About, what I mean by that is, having cake at like 11:30, because
Yeah.
that's about the time I might eat breakfast.
So, yeah. Okay, we have some sharings in the chat that don't relate to cake. I learned that I can provide useful training even to other communication experts. 2 training calls this week with client learning things. Amazing. Learned from Patty and Georgie how to tweak my assessment name. Now amp up sessions. So cool. And items for clients to assess themselves. So
Nice.
good. And here we have another one regarding copywriting. It's not about you. LOL. Use plain language. I remember the cat toy ads. Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yes. We often try to overcomplicate. Simple and boring does the trick.
Clarity over cleverness, but only every time.
Exactly. So good. So good. All right. Well, I guess we'll be back next week. Some more stuff.
We'll be back next week with stuff.
More learnings, more teachings,
more talking,
more laughing, and possibly more cake.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be something to celebrate with cake. If anyone has a birthday next week, please let us know so that we can bring cake.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be really, really fantastic. So,
all right. Good. Well, have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you back here Monday. Same bat time.
Same bat channel.
Bye now.
It's like spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers.